This week marks the 40th anniversary of the U.S.-backed coup. You can also go to our website at democracynow.org to see highlights from our coverage over the years. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Our guest is Joan Jara, the widow of the legendary Chilean singer Victor Jara. Last week, she filed a civil lawsuit in U.S. court against the former military officer they say killed Jara almost exactly 40 years ago. Victor Jara was shot to death in the midst of the 1973 U.S.-backed coup within the next week. Joan Jara is author of an unfinished song, The Life of Victor Jara. Also with us is Almudena Bernabeu, attorney who helped file the lawsuit last week against Victor Jara's killers. She's with the Center for Justice and Accountability, where she directs the Transitional Justice Program. Tonight, there will be a major event where people from around the world will gather who've been involved with seeking justice since the coup took place. Pinochet rose to power on September 11th, and over the next 17 years, more than 3,000 Chileans were killed. Almudena, describe this lawsuit, the grounds, the legal grounds on which you bring this 40 years after Victor Jara was killed.
Absolutely. These lawsuits are happening in the United States, and there's an important number of them. They are civil by nature because it's a torts, which is it's a legal word, but I mean, it's what they really look for is a reward on damages. But really, the nature of the evidence and the relevance of the documents and everything that goes into the case really doesn't distinguish in my mind between criminal and civil. It's under two federal statutes in the United States called the Alien Tort Statute from 1789, ironically, first Congress, and the Torture Victims Protection Act, which is later on in 1992. And what they provide for is the right to victims, whether they're aliens under the ATS or also U.S. citizens under the TVPA, or what we call the TVPA, to bring suit for human rights violations. The second statute provides for torture and extrajudicial killing specifically, and the Alien Torts Statute allows you to bring in a more open or wide number of claims, including crimes against humanity, war crimes, and slavery. Many claims over the years, colleagues and friends have brought suit under these laws. In, I guess, the jurisdictional basis, not to be over-technical, but one of the more solid ones has been the physical presence of the defendant in the United States, which is what I will say the Center for Justice and Accountability specialized other colleagues at the Center for Constitutional Rights and other institutions have more experience with corporate cases and so forth. And in this particular instance, Pedro Pablo Barrientos, the guy who has been investigated and identified by Chilean prosecutors and judges as the author through testimony of Victor Jara's assassination, has been living for a number of years, for almost 20 years, in Florida, of all places.
How did you find this out?
We actually came to the attention of Chile Television first, and they did a big program about both the investigation in Chile and the likelihood of this person, it was an interesting step, the likelihood of this person being the Barrientos that was named in the pleadings in Chile. And after the program, the judge ordered a couple of extra, steps from a criminal investigation standpoint, and they were able to identify him. And I was contacted by the prosecutors in Chile, with whom we have a relationship from prior work, to see if we can actually corroborate one more, step to see if he was the person. And he is the same officer that left Chile, we believe, between 1989 and 1990 and relocated in Deltona.
Do you believe the U.S. knew
that he was
who he was?
I'm not sure he was high enough, to be frank, from all the information that we have right now.
Because he was granted U.S. citizenship.
He was granted U.S. citizenship, and what I don't necessarily know that at the time that he was probably requesting or filed his naturalization application, that the U.S. will know of his involvement. And I think that these guys specialize in lying in those applications, in my experience. So there's no way necessarily for the U.S. to know. Although I do believe that overall the U.S. looked somewhere else when all these people were coming from Latin America in the aftermath of their conflicts, no question, particularly military men.
This Alien Tort Claims Act, which we have covered many times in the past, you yourself have used in other cases. Very briefly, if you could talk about the Archbishop of El Salvador, Oscar Romero.
That's right. It was an important case at a personal and professional level. It was filed in 2003, and also with a little bit of this twisted thing of faith. A guy who was crucial to the assassination had been identified by the Truth Commission, by U.S. important declassified documents and other sources as the driver, as the sort of right-hand man of Roberto D'Aubuisson, who conceived the assassination and sort of the whole plot. And he was the guy who drove the shooter to the church. And he was living in Modesto, California, running an auto shop. And after we were able to establish that truthfully and corroborate it, we filed suit, which was a very important suit. I would say is the only time in the history of the crime for the conditions of El Salvador where any justice has been provided for this emblematic killing. And it was the first case.
He was killed March 24th, 1980. The Archbishop of El Salvador.
While celebrating Mass, absolutely. And it was kind of marks in the history and the imaginary of Salvadorans, marks the beginning of their 10-year civil war. It really was a declaration of war in the old-fashioned sense. It was against all civilians and against the pueblo that he defended so much. It was a provocative statement killing the Archbishop, who had been in his homilies and publicly condemning the actions of the army against the people of El Salvador.
Joan, how did you figure out that who was responsible for the killing of Victor, your husband?
I didn't figure it out because the Chilean army would not give the information of who of the officers who were responsible for the Chile Stadium where Victor was killed. But gradually, within the proceedings of the case, officers were named, especially by the conscripts, under whose orders they were, yeah. And it's these people who are these soldiers of lesser ranks who have identified the officers who were responsible for the crimes.
That's a very important point. Sorry, there's been no desire or willingness on behalf of the armed forces in Chile to collaborate with the families and the victims struggling for 40 years. They have to rely, the investigators, in now testimony from these low-level soldiers who don't have that kind of pact of silence, and they're providing information that is crucial for their work.
Well, I may say that they have had to have a pact of silence during many decades because they have been threatened by the armed forces. They should not speak, and there have been many who have been very scared to give their testimony until now.